Hey guys, this is just a quick tip tutorial video showing off this new SpeedTree importer tool for Houdini and Redshift. So a lot of people have requested a tool to import SpeedTree assets, and there used to be one way back in Houdini 11, and unfortunately it has not been updated in a really long time for Houdini, and it doesn't support Redshift. So while Maya and other applications have had an updated importer script, Houdini's kind of been forgotten about. And so I was discussing this with someone about how we can build a new tool. And so fortunately for us, Dominic here, and you guys will be able to find, I'll link the script in the description. And so yeah, Dominic Linganover created this tool, and I kind of just gave feedback, so all the credit goes to him when it comes to the actual script. It's amazing, and I just kind of gave some feedback and how I felt it should work. So once you guys come here and download it yourselves, or you guys could just copy and paste the script itself into a shelf. So I have it up here as a shelf tool. You'll just right click it, edit tool, or make a new shelf tool, come under script, make sure you're using Python because this is a Python script, and just paste in the code. And so what this tool does, which is really neat, is it lets you load up different formats for SpeedTree. So if you're working with OBJs, FBX, or Alembic, and it'll load the appropriate node. So if it's an Alembic node, it's going to use the Alembic SOP and read in the file and bring in the animation just like you would expect. And it also loads up all the textures and loads everything up so that you have an OpenGL preview. And so it will ask you a couple questions when you first select something. So if we click here, well, the first thing that happens is you're going to get an option here for finding the location of your file. So this is the first thing that pops up, and we're going to load up an Alembic tree that I've got here, Quaking Aspen. And so you just pick the geometry. So this is an Alembic. We load it in, and then it's going to ask you, do you want to create a mat net? So if you want to make the material, we're going to just say yes. And then it asks you if you want to use the RS sprite, which is, as some of you guys might know, a lot faster and more efficient than using opacity for leaves and cutouts. Sometimes you actually want to use opacity though if the leaves have gradients. So we're going to just use a straight raw cutout, so we're going to pick the sprite, so yes. And then this specific tree here is missing a little bit of a texture, and so this script will automatically detect whether you're missing textures, which is great too. So it's telling me here that an opacity texture for leaf summer 1 was not found. So sometimes when you save out your textures, you'll have variations of leaves in the diffuse color, but you'll be using the same opacity so that you don't have to load it multiple times, because the cutout shape is the shape is the same. And so for our case, we have two opacities, and so we're going to load in. We could either use the fall or the spring, and we know that this is leaf 1, so we're going to just use 1. And then it's asking for leaf summer 2, so we're going to use 2. And there we go. It automatically creates the geonode. If we zoom out here, we'll see that our tree has been brought in. You can choose to preview this in better quality in the viewport, and you can see that it loaded in our textures, our normal and the alpha cutout. So pretty cool. So it works also in the viewport, which is nice. And if we jump in here, you'll see that it's loading the Alembic. It's loading in the animated frames. It's unpacking. And then applying our material groups automatically and our material in a mat net. And so here you can see that it loaded up all our materials automatically. And if we come into like the leaf, we'll come in here and you'll see that it uses the sprite. And it plugs in the backlighting translucency color back into itself and adds a little bit of weight of 0.3. So if you guys want to adjust the color with the color correction here, more saturation or something, it's already all set up for you guys. So you guys can come in here and just make adjustments if needed, which is neat. Saves a lot of time. And if we come under the bark, for example, it'll load up all the textures that would have been part of the bark. So as you guys can see that we've got the diffuse here, the ambient occlusion, and all the data channels will automatically use gamma 1, so it linearizes it. And if the texture is a gloss texture, it'll detect that it's a glossy texture, and in the advanced section it'll tell it to convert from glossiness to roughness. Since Redshift normally, the Redshift material normally uses roughness, so if it detects a glossy texture, it'll activate that switch. It uses GGX by default, which is great. And it'll also plug in our normal texture, gamma of 1 linear. It'll put a bump map in and use tangent space normal. So as you guys can see, it kind of automatically sets it all up for us, which is great. This is what we've needed. And it does this for all your textures, and it's good to go. So if we open up a little render view here, and I'll give this a second to process these textures. And there we go. It's now rendering our tree. And if we come over here and look at what we've got, you can see that all our leaves are cut out. It organized our groups correctly. If we look under it, you can see that there's translucency on the leaves as expected. There's bump mapping, or I should say normal mapping, on our tree. And yeah, everything's pretty much good to go. And since it's animated, it also animates as we move through the timeline. So if I zoom in here and just move a few frames forward, you'll see that it moved in the viewport, and if I hit reload, it'll update. But yeah, the whole thing works as expected, which is great. So once again, just so you guys know, I will be linking the download link here in the description of the YouTube video. And if you're seeing this post on my Patreon or wherever else on the Facebook Redshift group, the link will be there. And yeah, so just give it a try. If you guys run into any problems or bugs or something, feel free to send me a message. This is going to be the first release of this, and you can either contact me or Dominic, and I'll send him whatever information you guys have. This is still version 1.0, so there could be improvements, there could be bugs, but it's overall pretty good. It loads in the different types of geometry and all the materials like you would expect. So, but yeah, if you guys want to give him a little bit of money for making this awesome tool, feel free to buy him a coffee or something. I'm sure he'll appreciate it. And yeah, so thanks again, guys, and check out this tool.